Welcome back, everyone. We're here with episode 3, what feels like such a long gap between episodes. Of course, my name is Braden. I am joined by a very special guest. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I'm doing well. How are you, man?
Yeah, good as always. Been a long time between drinks, so got married over the last kind of, what, five,
Yeah,
6 weeks since the last episode. Got a bad flu that led to a chest infection and obviously the return to
that's
work as
gonna
a
be.
high school teacher. But here we are. Man,
Yeah.
a lot's gone down.
I'm
A
glad
lot
you're feeling
to.
better.
Yeah, nah, feeling a lot better now. Thanks, man. It's all kind of gone. The players certainly appreciate me not coughing as much, thankfully. But man, so many rap
Yeah,
tests to go through, but all good. Anyway, we'll run through what we're going to look at in this episode. So obviously, we're recording this on the pre-release day of OP06, so we're definitely going to talk a little bit about OP06. But before then, we've got some band news to kind of go through and
yeah,
analyze, particularly for the sake of this. Before touching on a game very close to our hearts, and that's the new Dragon Ball game, right, Dan?
yeah, very much so. I think that's what for me. That's my first TCG game ever, and yeah, ever. And first game I started 7 years ago. So yeah,
Absolutely. So it's good to see kind of the reboot. We'll get more into that. But first, man, it feels like an eternity ago. But Nationals, Dan, tell us your run.
bruh. It was honestly, I tell boys this all the time that all I wanted to do was do my best, and my best was luckily enough on the day to be able to get me top 16. I came exactly 15th out of 512 players, so I was quite happy with myself. The boys from Queensland, Gold Coast. I mean, I've never had so many people so excited for me. The boys in Wonderland, especially, and also Good Games. They supported me through and through. So it was an amazing run. I went 7-2. I was one of the highest 7-2s. And funny enough, actually the day before, because we did side events, I actually went 4-4 with the same deck, but I just made a couple tweaks to it going into Swiss, but that made a huge difference in having and actually playing for 6, 7, 8 rounds before, obviously the day before, it actually made a huge difference for my confidence. In terms of how I play certain decks overall. But it was great. I mean, honestly, I'm glad I played the side event because it made me so much better in the Swiss event.
100%. And I'll tell
So
you
good.
what, you've got more resilience than me because if I get hounded the day before at a side event, it's one of those
Yeah.
that really difficult like kind of resilience to show. Being able to bounce back, look at the tweaks, and kind of analyze your own shortcomings. It's such a, I guess, a psychological barrier for us, being able to analyze our shortcomings. But the tweaks obviously worked, making it X2, 7-2, making top 16
Yeah.
cut. Who'd you play against in the top 16 again?
I played Henry Hyde. He was also a Luffy enthusiast. Sorry if I need to tell you guys. I played Purple Luffy, and there was like four of us in the top
Mm.
cut. So it's like four Purple Luffys, four Sokkas, two Enels, and then two Whitebeards.
Is that
So the Luffy mirror is always weird. It's like whoever gets the most blockers, and or whoever sees Kaido first, or whoever actually sees Kaido second sometimes, wins. But it was he got me 2x, he got me 2-0. He was a great player. I kind of wish I'd play. I guess the only thing probably I wish I could kind of take back a little bit in my prepping is probably practice more against the mirror. That's probably one thing I didn't practice as much
mm,
as Kata, Inel, Sokka, and everything else. I didn't think as many people would be on P Luffy. I thought there'll be a lot more people on Yellow, which I was right.
yeah.
But there was apparently a lot more P Luffy than I thought. And one of my only losses in Swiss was against a P Luffy as well. It was just, I think for me, that was my under preparation in that side.
Certainly, and it's great that you can like kind of walk away and view that. And I guess that's kind of a good segue into our next topic on the, I guess, topic of Purple Luffy. And that is the ban
Yeah,
list. Now, there's still a lot of obviously contention. We haven't had officially confirmed if it's coming to
yeah,
the Western meta. It's definitely coming to kind of the Eastern meta over there. But for those unsure of the bans, we've got a Sakazuki leader ban. They're bringing out a new version of him. So, like a functional errata without the errata, I
yeah.
guess you could say. What else? We had Reject banned. What were the other ones again, Dan?
Reject. And it was Great Eruption. Great
Great
Eruption that
Eruption banned.
draw one. Yeah, was it -1, draw one, then drop a card as
The
well. So it was
-2,
actually
yeah.
like a very, very good card. Minus two, yeah,
absolutely.
minus two.
It
Excuse me.
just helps Sakazuki maintain that hand advantage while removing all their threats. You look at Black in the early.
100%.
Well, let's just go straight into the ban first of all. So Sakazuki, we've seen it Worlds putting up all top four decks as Sakazuki. Something certainly needed to go, and they came in with an absolute vengeance on that deck. Getting rid of not just the leader, but the Great Eruption. And I think Great Eruption just provided far too much kind of consistency for Black decks. You look at the early days of Black, the Sakazuki SR from
Mm-hmm.
OP2, where you were forced to discard a card to KO something.
Yeah.
The trouble is, a lot of the Sakazuki decks were able to keep parity with their opponent. You play a threat, I'll remove the threat, while still being able to pressure
100%.
your board. And I think that kind of power creep just happened a little too quickly, and we saw the lasting effect of that on the meta. And now Sakazuki gone. Reject, bit of an interesting one. It definitely made its name felt in both Katakuri, Big Mom, and now
I'm missing that one
Nell in
right now.
particular. Yeah, I know, right? Well, at least we get to play with
Yeah,
it for a little bit.
that's
We get to play with it for a little bit. I know we've got an online
really
Treasure Cup in 2 weeks, I think. And
yeah,
not only will
yeah. In
Sakazuki
March.
That's it, March 23rd from memory. I could be wrong on that, but not only will
No, that's
Sakazuki
23rd.
yeah, there we go. Not only will Sakazuki be legal in his current form, but we will also have Reject. So, be interesting to see if
I don't.
that'll be enough.
I don't know that because the thing is they have they put the ban list on Japan on the 1st of April, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
still haven't had they can literally just put the ban list tomorrow and then it's like it is what it is. And I think that looking at I think as you said that with Great Eruption, it literally changes the math how Sakazuki wants to do anything now. Like it can't do RHL as well. Obviously trying to take care of maybe more than obviously more than one threat, but it makes things a little bit more difficult. But also it just opens up the meta a little bit more. I wouldn't even say like for example like Zoro is gonna be top tier or anything, but it makes things more interesting in that aspect. And even with not having reject right now because it's one of the yellow's cards that I can able to I think it's able to remove something five or less, and then if your opponent's at one life, it burns them. So I think with that, not being able to play with reject, it changes yellow a little bit, tweaks it. So it's going to be really interesting what decks come really full speed, and I think that's why we've seen like a resurgence of green pretty strong as
Absolutely.
well.
And I think, like,
Very very strong.
we mentioned that getting nerfed in yellow. They're still getting some incredible tools in the form of Onami. I forget the name of the card, the one that you can trigger on life if your opponent's at 3, and then if it gets KO'd, you put a life back.
That's the 1046
Yep, 4-6K, yep.
Okiku.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's the one. And obviously it's finally getting its own zero cost 3K. I like to call them the kind of 2K event, I like to call them.
Yeah.
The thing with that event, and I actually think it's one of the best ones because of its trigger in Enel. If you're at 0, you just have to discard one card and get a life, and then you activate Enel's effect. So you discard
So
2
can you
and get
still
2 life.
yeah, but can you still with that particular card, can you still discard if you don't have any card in hand then?
I believe the trigger it is part of the cost that you have to discard, unlike Enel's
So you
ability.
have to do yeah.
I'll have to
So the
double
same
check,
thing.
but it
So
all
the same thing.
depends on that colon, what comes before the colon, after the colon, different things
Yeah.
like that. But
Yeah, because I'm
Enel
not
is
looking at it right now.
yeah. The Enel is definitely not part of the cost. Sorry, so you don't have to discard, but I'm pretty sure that one is. I think they maybe caught on to that. But what deck do you think is gonna sneak its way back into the meta? I already know what my pick is. I want to know yours, Dan.
So right now, okay, so I think people like okay, in our locals we have a couple law players. I think law maybe, but if the issue is RHL still exists, so but the thing is Sakazuki doesn't necessarily exist, at least to a degree. So law maybe, but I think I would actually say I want to say I say kid. I say one an easy pick kid.
Really? Okay.
Greek, yeah. The reason why is because I guess looking at the math wise, if you look, I guess if you look at the prices for what's his name, 8 drop kid,
Yep.
it's
Yes.
going up and up and up, and then it's a great stall card. And math wise, unless most more black decks are going to play instead of Great Eruption, they're going to play what is the Ice Age,
Yep.
and
Yep.
they have to be able to try and remove those big threats. So for me, it can be a Uda deck, it can be a kid deck, it can be even Fortress. Like Fortress Yamato is getting really hyped right now.
Yep, definitely.
There's so many different things that can. So I'll say any green deck that can swing twice. So I'll say Kid and Uda specifically in those particular colors. When you remove tempo wise, I think blue wise, I don't know if Croc would. Croc is still a weird one to me. Croc or any type of blue deck, or even I think with the new nine drops, I would look at Queen. Queen's like
Queen as
a
well.
really weird sleeper pick for me because I know you can do a lot of shenanigans, and especially you can use stack your deck and such. So
Absolutely.
I mean, I think yeah, there's a few choices though. There's a lot of decks that can do a lot of tricks. But for me, I can't just pick one deck because until we really have a clear cut with the ban list, if you say Sakazuki's out completely, then you look at okay, Katakuri maybe, um, Enel, I don't know. Enel's it gets more tools, so maybe I don't know. So what you're thinking though? I mean, to me in
Well,
my head,
Law
there's
was
numerous
100.
ones.
Well, Law was definitely my top answer. With everyone probably
Yeah,
gravitating more towards yellow,
yeah,
Law was definitely going to be my answer. Um, Law in itself doesn't really kind of change much with OP6. It's still the OP2, OP3 kind of build, but it
mm,
just loses. Like if Saka just drops off the cliff, you know, Rob Lucci mono black, I don't think can present itself in the meta. I don't think black. It just goes back to the OP2 days of having to
mm,
sacrifice too many
yeah.
resources to be good. You
Mm.
can look obviously
It
at Perona. A lot of people are going to try Perona now, but I think losing Great Eruption is just too much for it. Just
yeah, it's too
personally,
much,
but I
and
think Perona will become the new bane of the existence of Law. That's for sure. If I had to guess another deck, I certainly think Queen is due to make a little bit of a comeback. Getting a couple of
yeah,
new yellow tools is absolutely fantastic, but more importantly,
always good.
getting rid of its worst matchup. Sakazuki just usually demoralized them. You know, they could get rid of 2 to 3 of their big boys, no worries, and then Queen's just in top deck mode, often not refilling that life, and they'll just set up for the alpha
Yeah,
swing to kill them. So
yeah, 100%. And
yeah, Law and Queen, I think, are two probably good answers. I'm certainly looking forward to it. Obviously, we've got a whole host of new leaders. Perona, Gecko Moria, they're certainly going to see play.
yeah, no,
Uda, probably not as much. Hody, not as much. The SR,
nah,
definitely, not the
nah,
leader. And then we've
no.
got, obviously, Yamato, which I think is going to steal locals, and a lot
It's
of
gonna be
players
it's
don't respect it.
Yeah, because the Yamato, because the thing is, I think with Yamato is like people don't. This is the first time we have a leader that swings.
That actually
That
creates a
swings
lot of
like that
pressure.
swings double stack.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for some of us who play Dragon Ball, we're kind of used to seeing these type of things. For me, Yamato is like my personal favorite because if
Mm.
anyone knows me, I like playing anything with double strike, which is the term, or double attack for Dragon Ball
Yep.
masters, and then banish is basically critical, where basically you are not allowing your opponent to take resources. So
Get those triggers,
I've
yeah.
always been my personal, that's always been my personal style. So for me, it's like being able to try to create something aggro enough, but in a way controlling my opponent's resources is
Mm.
literally the main reason I play this game. Just kind of waiting to a degree, and obviously I really do like Yamato as well. But I think some people will play it. I feel like a lot of people are playing it can play toward Fortress, and I think from what I've seen and what I've read, Fortress works really well with Onami. Some like more aggro builds don't have Onami in it at
Just
all,
try and
so
starve
it
their
all
opponent,
varies.
yeah.
Yeah, I say put more of a starve build more than anything in a weird way. But I mean, like I said, everyone's gonna yeah, because Yamato is such a diverse leader. You could play it so many different ways. There's not necessarily a wrong way to play it. I think you can play it fun. Like you can play so much things with it. So I think a lot of people will really enjoy that leader more than anything else. Whereas the other decks is like you have to play them a kind of like a certain way or a certain engine to make it really more competitive.
Yep.
Whereas Yamato is free.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the giving the 2 rested Don is just so unbelievable. Um, Running the Land of One
So
or
good.
Aphthia 9, whatever they are, the characters and
Mm,
just giving them the Don to get the ability, it's unbelievable. And now, like,
it's so good.
yeah, it did beat up on Sakazuki a fair bit. I think you're certainly going to see some decks have to respect Yamato. You can't just run greedy top end decks. You're going to have some early,
No.
2Ks and event cards to really see out their attacks, or you just get absolutely punished. And Hody at the top of the engine, like if you definitely go the more aggro, not the fortress build of Yamato,
Yeah.
certainly can just shut down that final defensive turn. You know, if you're relying on two to three
Yeah.
blockers to get you through, Hody Jones makes sure that they're not going to have as much of an impact at all.
Legally.
You know?
Yeah, which is kind of cool because because one thing I really like with One Piece, what they've trying to done is trying to meet with the character trait. So I know that you're not super far into the anime just yet, but when Cody Jones first comes out,
Oh no,
he's kind of
I'm
like
well
a bit of a
past that.
punk. Yeah.
I'm past
Are
it out
you? Oh
now.
wait. Are you wait? Are you passed it? Okay. Good. Good. Good.
Yeah.
So yeah. Good. 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 Congrats. So, but the thing is, like, when he comes out, like, okay, he's kind of a bit of a badass until Luffy whoops on him, but then he gets to a point where he takes, those super drugs,
Yeah, that's
and
it.
he basically tries to get past everybody. So obviously that card is basically him in that super form a bit. So it's
Yep.
kind of cool that
And taking his own life,
what
like
he like
representing the shortening that the
e-
drugs do.
ex- exactly, and he's trying to run. He's literally going through people. So with the card is resting cards. So it's like that's so cool. So
Yeah.
one thing I love that One Piece continues to do that with theme was. So it makes the game
Oh,
really
it's
really
so
fun in
good.
that
And you're
sense.
seeing it with a little bit of Dragon Ball. We'll get to that obviously in a bit.
Yeah,
But the
yeah, yeah.
flavor they're designing this game, it's so good. And even Egghead, like Vegapunk, refilling his life, different things like that, triggers.
Yeah.
You know, OP7's bringing some really cool stuff. Boa Hancock just feels incredibly flavorful as well. And
Yeah.
even the Foxy Pirates, you know, as horrible as that
It's just
arc
fun.
was, it's a fun deck, and I like that they're doing kind of fun ideas like that. But look,
I think
OP6 pre-release is obviously happening this weekend. A lot of big
yeah.
cards to pull. A lot of fun to be had, really. Are you going to any pre-releases, Dan?
Yes, I am. So right after this, after I finish, doing the things I got to do, and the wife gives me the thumbs up, I'm going to Wonderland here in the Gold Coast
Oh,
to play with
nice.
the boys.
Nice, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
so it should be a good some fun.
Do you
Yeah.
find, I guess we're going off a bit off topic here. Do you find that the numbers are still staying up for One Piece down Gold Coast way?
I mean,
It's been months since I've been down there, even probably over a year since I've been down to
it's
the coast.
it's really good though. I mean, we've been very fortunate to have two main places that we can play. So on a Tuesday night, you have good games
Yep.
that we can have when the normal sets going on, when products the good like obviously products available, you have minimum 20 plus people
Oh, that's
easily, right?
good. Good, good, good.
So and at Wonderland, very same thing on a Friday and Sunday, we basically have 21, 22, a little bit more sometimes,
Wow.
it's really good. I'll be honest with you. Like it's probably since for me, I've never had, with this with my TCG experience that locally my uh places where I'm going have more than 15 or 20 every night, which
Yep.
is amazing. So I think for competitive wise, I think we're really strong down here. Because we're all playing not to say not similar things, different things, but we're playing often enough,
Yep.
so
Got a good spread of events. Well, I know up in Brisbane,
um
you can play. I'm just thinking of Northside very quickly, and I think
yeah.
that you
I
can
need to go
play
up there,
on.
man.
What was that? Sorry.
No, I'm trying to come up to Brizzy more often. And it's just the times it starts. By the time I get down here, to be
Oh
down
yeah,
here, it's
yep.
just
Drive
the
up there and
traffic
the
is
motorways. Yeah,
oh
it's
yeah, it's just
crazy.
like
But like, I know One Piece is at a point now. The only day I can't think of where there's an event is actually Saturday, and I'm sure there's someone probably screaming at me going, "How could you forget this store?" But just the north side of Brisbane, you can play every single day of the week except Saturday, to my knowledge, which I just find absolutely crazy. And I know, like, just mentioning it now, like, so ITO Game Traders Chermside, and we run ours a little bit differently. We RNG the top pricing the way we keep it uncapped. Like, we get a fair bit of
yeah,
product, and we keep that for the players in terms of pricing and do a
yeah.
big pre-release. I haven't checked the app since about lunchtime today, but when I did check, I think we had 56 players registered. You know, probably not all those going to come,
That's
but I flicked through the names. There would have only been a half a dozen I didn't recognise. The rest, when they put their name down, they usually come, and it's gonna be a fun night. I'll tell you that.
I Yeah, I believe you on that, and I think also Wonderland does the same thing. So, for example, they've gotten to the point now. If we have over, let's just say, if the event's supposed to be 16,
Yep, yep,
and
yep.
we have 30 that rock up, they'll basically say, "Okay, guys, this is what we're gonna do. Are you guys okay with that?" Most of us say that's
Pre-structure it,
yes.
yeah.
It create free structure, and so with that makes it a bit more competitive play. You want to do well because they only have X amount, So I mean, a lot of times they love to have so many, but you get what you get. So they try to make it as fair as possible.
Yep.
So a lot of times that people are just trying to play well. which is makes long term wise players better when you go to big events and such. That's how I look at it.
Oh, 100%. And it's so good for the community
Yeah.
seeing these stores support it. Obviously, the news coming out that they're focusing on reprints of 5 and 6 to try and get into the hands
Mm.
of stores. So I know a lot of stores will be, overwhelmed by that, the support. Players, imagine being able to go into a store and buying a box of One Piece, at retail.
It's bro. I haven't seen that since OP1, OP1, OP2, and I
I
think
think
people didn't realize
OP3 and 4, I think you could, but it was pretty scarce.
it was scarce. It's very scarce. Like OP1 was like I look at it, it's like I got my stuff. I'll be able to go to somewhere else to get some more stuff.
Yeah,
If you knew the places where to go, yeah. OP2 was I wasn't here for necessarily OP2. I was getting married in the US.
yeah, yeah.
OP3, you could get it a bit, like you said. OP4, OP5 was stupid. That was just
Just forget about it.
you're not gonna touch it.
Yeah,
Like it's one of those things where I actually got too hyped for the set, like way too hyped for the set.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I got caught into it. So lesson learned on that. So it's just not
Absolutely.
not again.
Speaking of getting
Oh
too
god.
too hyped up for it, Dragon Ball, Dan. You played the New Fusion World version?
Yeah. So yeah, I have. So what many as I told a lot of people, including my wife, I told her I was like, I'm not gonna play it. I did everything I could do for Masters was fun, you know. But
Yeah.
then I started reading a couple cards. I was like, oh, this is actually not too bad.
Yeah, that's a
And then
pretty good
playing
set.
it, and I was playing it, and I was just like playing with my boy Reese. I was like, oh, this is nice because obviously with playing One Piece for so long and then going back to Dragon Ball, the biggest thing you miss that is the creatures, your characters that you summon, they
Yep.
can swing automatically. There's no summoning sickness.
Yep.
Whereas One
Yep.
Piece, only card that can do that is
What
obviously your
Rush?
leader, but obviously cards that have rush.
Yeah.
So to have that fluidity, kind of like that game that you learn how to play TCG with, it's like it was fun again, and
Yeah.
obviously I went back to my own style of playing more of a crit deck when I'm playing Beerus right now, which
Oh,
is fun,
Beers. Yep.
and
Yep. Yep.
yeah, and I'm just kind of building that style around it. But it's great though. I think it's a great game, and I think Bandai knew what it was doing because they saw the hype for OP, everything they're doing for OP, and it's like I'll just slide in this little side game right here, and instantly just kind of drag some of having both players play both games, and it's
Absolutely.
smart marketing wise, and then people who've been like now people like, okay, I don't want to play OP today. I can go play Dragon Ball or vice versa.
Yep. That's
So
it.
I think it's gonna be, it's good for stores that have that bit of variety. And like I said, a lot of people didn't believe in fusion. For a lot of us who played Masters for years and years and years,
Yep.
like
They saw it as a cop out.
we didn't, we're copped out. Like we were mad, we're angry,
Yep.
But when you actually physically play it, like it's good. I think it's still in its baby phases, like most games are. When you first
Oh,
start out.
definitely.
Yeah, but I think it can grow. Would it make as much money as OP? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it only would maybe now because unfortunately Akira passed away. We just found out today he passed out. He passed away from
Yep.
a acute subdural hematoma, which is
Hematoma. Yep.
unfortunate. And I think now if Dragon Ball had a catapult in a way, unfortunately with this unseen event, it can go up because now people are going to be looking at what value stuff they have because the creator is gone, and it's like, oh, things will probably change in the market a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised about that.
That's it. It's going to be an interesting couple of months. Thoughts, obviously, with Toriyama, relatives, family, everyone, anyone
Yeah,
connected to him.
100%.
It's an absolute travesty. And I was at work towards the end of the day on my spare, just walking to get food, and I saw the news, and yeah, I couldn't believe it either. For a lot of people, even if you've never heard of Toriyama, you've certainly heard of his work that he's done, and
Yeah,
just to know it and not even be like influenced by it is still kind of huge. And like for a lot of people around, heading into their 30s now, late 20s, early 30s, Dragon Ball was a big part of like the morning routine here in Australia. And the new card game obviously coming out, getting the reboot. We've got the digital client. As you said, it's just like a breath of fresh air almost. For those who did play Masters, just to go back to almost kind of a basic form without the negates, and now to just get this
yeah,
news, it would be interesting to see kind of what happens. But look, I've had a
yeah,
chance to play the game. I like it. I certainly think, like
yeah,
you said, baby phase. Obviously greens is too strong. When 80% of the matches you play online are green,
Yeah,
it's a bit disheartening. Like even a soft ban on 8 cost Broly until other colors get removal.
yeah.
I just think that
All right.
they certainly didn't think ramp would be as popular as it was, and it really. I don't want to
You're
say they
stupid, yeah.
rushed it and didn't play test it, but it almost feels that way. Because the funny thing is, if you ban the 8 cost, I think that
Hmm.
green is actually pretty fair into a lot of other decks. It certainly has good and bad
Yeah,
matchups, but I feel the 8
yeah.
cost starter Broly is probably a little bit kind of
It's
overtuned.
it's too strong. It's too overtuned because the thing is, you play for eight. Obviously, sorry guys, we're going to
Yep,
fusion talk a little bit, but like it's so overtuned. You play for eight, it can swing, and then it can swing. But not only that, it kills anything.
anything.
Right? Before master, it kills anything.
Yep,
So before masters, we had something called barrier where barrier came in later in the
couldn't
game.
choose it. Yeah,
You couldn't choose it, but we don't obviously have that. So that's overtuned, and they can swing twice, and it's just like it's like it's strong,
it's the
So
board
for me,
clear.
it's like board clear. It does so much. So it's one of those things I can see why people kind of like don't want to play who want to play green, and then but then when obviously when you have a deck that's potentially the best deck in the format, people are going to build around it, so people are going to play more 4K 30Ks, so they can get, the
Exactly.
biggest thing with Broly, you trying to get more cards out of their hand.
Yep.
So you got the way you deck build is always different. So the same thing when you go back to Sakazuki, people built their earlier decks of Luffy, Enel, Kata, that played a certain way because the way that Sakazuki was, and initially before it played um, Rebecca, before it played Rob Lucci, it played a little bit different game. It played more 9 drops. It played more,
Yeah, the
I think,
Mihawk and stuff
more
like
Ice
that.
Ace.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Mihawk stuff like that. So it had a different, better match. It had different matchups where that's why PCP was called PCP, Perfect Curve Luffy, because it can win into anything. But then
Exactly.
Sokka, and then whoever figured out Sokka was amazing and changed the whole thing. And just like anybody in any game, when someone breaks a deck, broke the deck, it gets banned for a reason. So that happens.
Absolutely, and that's what we saw. Like, it'd be interesting, like we said earlier, see what happens when it transfers over to the Western meta. But look, there's our thoughts on Fusion World. I definitely am looking forward more to come. Particularly, we're getting set 2 spoilers already, so people can start
Yeah,
theory
yeah,
crafting, look at what's going to happen. And as I said, hopefully we just see every other color actually get a card able to deal with that Broly. But
oh
anyway,
yeah,
just before we
it'll be
wrap
fine.
up, Dan, I believe you've got some cards for me to evaluate, like we do with all of our guests
Yeah,
on this show.
I got three. I got
All right,
three
let's
for you.
go. So for
So
those new,
all
I'm
right,
just
so
going to quickly introduce. This is our buy sell. What was it? Buy sell hold. So Dan's going to give me three
buy
cards.
sell
So
hold.
yeah, buy sell hold. That's it. I'll get
Yeah.
3 cards, and I have to put them into one of those categories. I'm going to give you a reasoning. So go for it, Dan. What cards we got?
All right. All right. We'll start off with alt cost. I mean the ultimate art of 8 drop kid.
Yep, from
Um
set 1. Yep,
SP, yeah, from set one. SP Nami from OP5,
yep.
and Alt Zero OP1 pre-errated specifically.
The is that the leader or is
For
that
leader, excuse
the
me.
three?
Yeah.
Did Zoro have an errata?
Alt Zero leader, yeah. Yeah, pre-errata.
I didn't know Zoro had a pre-errata. Ooh,
Oh, I thought it did.
I can't remember. Anyway,
No.
all right. There's a few tough candidates here. Um, okay, I think I've got the hold figured out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I
no, I've
made it
got the
easy.
buy figured out. I've got the
Mm-hmm.
hold figured out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got the sell figured out. To
Mm-hmm.
me, I'd be selling into the hype of 8 cost kid. I, I think that a lot of decks can outclass it. It's a very difficult card, obviously, to play against, but it's an even harder card to play with, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I've seen them selling it between the 150 to 200 mark. Pre-errata, sometimes going for a little bit more. In my opinion, I'd be probably selling off the Eustace kids. Anything pre-errata, particularly an iconic character like Zoro, I think Zoro is just one of those great leaders that's going to be hard to outclass in future sets. It's so iconic.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be probably buying. It's a tough call, the buy, but I'd be on the
Yeah.
buy category for that one. Hold, I'm a little bit funny because I feel red straw hats are due for another resurgence shortly. and Nami in that iconic kind of what was it, the Star body, I think, just after the time skip.
Let's say
That-
somebody.
yeah,
Yeah,
Star body.
somebody time
That
skip.
was her outfit there, and that is obviously such an iconic
Hmm.
outfit for reasons. So that would be my hold. I think, honestly, I don't think it has a lot of room to grow, and the hold was either between
Hmm.
that and the kid, because I think that the Nami may have hit its peak at the moment, but it's always hard to tell. What Bandai are going to do with cards when the next chase is going to come out, but I'll lock that in. I'll buy the Zoro leader because I love pre-errata kind of stuff. There's
Yeah,
such a small amount of it. The hold, I would
yeah,
definitely be on the Nami at the moment, just waiting for a resurgence for her to come back. And
yeah,
the Cell is the kid. I can see why people love it. We know.
yeah.
Honestly, I think the alt art's kind of influenced by just the scarcity of the SR. I looked it up just before. 41 US
Yeah.
dollars out of stock.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was.
41.
Uh, it's stupid. I was like, oh, I was looking if I have that fifth one to go. Just make a quick sell.
That's
But I
it.
was like, I definitely agree with your list. Like, it's one of those weird things where looking at SB Nami is like, I do believe that they're that we are going to get some level of straw hats, and if it's a multicolored with red, and unless we get anything new searchers,
Yeah.
Nami that card specifically, people like that version more than the apparently the treasure rare from
Oh,
this new set.
it looks so
It's
bad. What were they
it,
thinking?
it's it's different. It's different.
Forever the
I think I
optimist.
have to say
Forever the
it's
optimist.
is I have to be the optimist because you look at it because I mean if you look at some of these arts because even my boy like me and my boy Jaden
Yeah.
we've gone in the past and talked about these different artworks and you said though this is great artwork because XXS they've done this Pokemon one and I look back at their card as oh yeah this is actually good and then I looked at another card and said oh this is not that great but it's like yeah but if you look at it in this way it's like oh yeah I see your point I
Yeah.
still don't like the card but it's one of those things where it's depending it's like it's the what's that quote the beauty is in the eye of the beholder
Yeah,
so
beauty's in the
a
eye of the
lot of people
beholder.
don't like it a lot of people don't like it but that's okay but this could be someone who buys it up and flips it for double the price or more for whatever reason watch I don't know I just
I think when
I
we
think about like what
I was going to say, if we get some more confirmed pull rates, like I've already seen a listing for 500 Australian dollars on it. I think that's probably a little too low, but if it's every second case, I think that's okay. Like, if it's
yeah
every second case, I could probably see it dropping to as low as 200 to 300 maybe. If it's every
yeah
third or fourth case, like the manga, I think that's probably a little too low for it. But again, every
yeah
set has an EV, and it looks like Zoro's starting to eat up a lot of that EV at the moment. Just seeing these initial listings today. But look,
mm,
we'll sign it off here. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations again on your magnificent run.
appreciate it man. Thank
Thanks
you
everyone for watching and being patient. I aim to have a lot more kind of market watch videos coming out, not only for One Piece but Dragon Ball as well. Thanks again, everyone. Good luck at your pre-release. May the mangas be in your favor. And until next time, peace out.
peace out.